Good morning, and thank you for joining us for Cash Advances and Prepaid Card Program webinar. My name is Kathleen Spencer, and I'm the Accounts Payable Manager. And today, joining me from the Controller's Office is Melinda Kraft, Becky O'Donnell, and Kathy Blackburn, and also Joanne Callahan. Let me fix that. That's actually Becky O'Connell. So today we are going to talk about supplier setup and how to request a cash advance, the cash advance settlement, the team travel advance, and grant cash advance as well. Just a note here, we are really trying to migrate away from cash advances and to use the prepaid cards, which Melinda will tell you more about. So when Melinda's time comes, she's going to talk about prepaid cards. She's going to talk about the benefits of each prepaid program, how to request a prepaid card, how to reconcile a prepaid card, and also resources and contacts that you can use. First, we're going to talk about supplier setup. So each recipient of a cash advance must be set up as a cash custodian employee supplier in the supplier file in advance of the payment. To do that, to check to see if your supplier is already set up, you'll want to use the navigation below, and that'll be main menu, suppliers, supplier information, add update, and review suppliers. And we'll take a look at this in a minute. Once you're here, you can change the ID type to employee ID number and enter the USC ID number and hit search. If your supplier doesn't come up, it'll let you know that your supplier is not found. And if this is the case, the supplier will need to be added by completing the cash custodian employee supplier form on the controller's website. And we'll also take a look at that. Once you have filled out this form, you're going to email it to apsupplier@mailbox.sc.edu. The time frame for the setup, so the suppliers are set up as they're received, and that's usually within 3 business days once the appropriate documentation is received. Again, during this time frame, you can check to see if they are set up by that same navigation using the ID type or the employer ID. And that navigation is, again, main menu, suppliers, supplier information, add update, and review suppliers. So let's stop right here and take a look at how you're going to do that. So to search, you're going to want to go to main menu, and then I always use the sort so I can find it, and supplier, supplier information, add update, and then review suppliers. And this is where the first thing we're going to do is see if we can find it through their employer ID. So we're going to want to choose employer ID number. And then hit search. And as you can see, obviously this one is already set up. Now, if you don't have the employer ID number, you can also search using the name. So we're going to use name contains, excuse me. And each time that you're set up as a custodian, the first word in that name is going to be custodian. So if we enter custodian and hit search, it'll bring up everybody that is set up as a custodian. So as you can see, there's 287 of these. And you can search through and see if your particular custodian has been set up yet. So that's how we're going to search to see if they have been set up. We'll also look at where to find the form. So to find the form to have them set up, you're going to want to go to the controller's website. You can find that by using the search button and just put controller in there. Once you're on the controller's website, you'll want to go to supplier tax management and then supplier forms and instructions. And at the bottom of this list, you'll find the cash custodian employee supplier form. So that's the form that you'll want to fill out and then email to have your custodian set up. So, and while we're here, we're going to take a real quick look at the forms for cash advance. So we've gone to general accounting, accounts payable, and you'll see there's a cash advance section. And in this cash advance section, you can see that there's a cash advance form and also the settlement form. So the steps to request a cash advance, each individual requesting a cash advance must be submitted separately 7 to 10 days in advance. They will need to complete the request for cash advance form, and this form will have all information and justification to support the cash advance payment, and also the form supporting documentation should be scanned, and this is because you are going to attach this information to a payment request. So we talked about the location of the cash advance request and settlement forms. And again, these are on the controller's website under accounts payable. And this is a sample of the request for cash advance form. So if you look at the form, you're going to want to start with the name of the custodian, their department, mailing address, their phone and email. And then you want to put the amount of cash advance requested, and then the dates that the funds will be used. So you'll want the start date through the ending date. The next section is where you'll put the specific purpose of the cash advance, and then the custodian will need to sign and date. And our next section is the accounting or chart field information. So as you fill that out, if you'll look on the right-hand side, there's an account box, and these are the accounts that you are going to want to use here. So most people, if you're just doing a cash advance, that account number is going to be 10204. It'll need to be approved by the dean or department chair. So there's a place for that information and also for that signature. So the steps to request a cash advance, like I said, they're going to be through a payment request. So you're going to submit a payment request, and you're going to do that from main menu, employee self-service, and the payment request center. The account that you'll use on your payment request will be 10204 for cash advances and gift cards. You want to be sure to include any special instructions, and those will be in the comment box. And what this does is let accounts payable know, if you want us to hold that check for pickup, then you'll put that in the comment box, and the person who will pick it up, and either an email or a phone number, so we can let them know when the check is ready. You want to attach the completed request for cash advance form to the payment request, and then once that request is approved by accounts payable, a payment will be created. So after you have used your funds, you're going to need to complete the cash advance settlement. All cash advances must be settled within 30 days of the ending period for which the advance was issued. The custodian of the funds is who will complete the cash advance settlement form and also will supply the required documentation. So when you're completing this form, you want to ensure that you use the correct account code, that you attach all your receipts, that you provide a list of participants in the program, and also provide a list of all gift card recipients. And here you need to note, if more than $600 for the year has been given to a participant, the department will need to retain a W-9 for each gift card recipient. They also will need to report this to the tax manager by January 15th each year, so that we have a record of this. Next, we're going to look at the sample cash advance settlement form. On this form, you're going to want to put the date, the cash advance custodian, and the date of the original advance. And then you also want to include your voucher number of the original advance and your original chart field information. So the next section, you're going to put the amount of the original cash advance. And then this section is a summary of receipts. So this is a true summary. If you have receipts that are going to the same chart field, the same vendor, You can combine these and put them on the summary, although you do need to include, each receipt, each individual receipt as an attachment. So you will include this information there and total your receipts. In the next section, you'll want a summary of your deposits. So this is any cash that you had left over needs to be deposited and recorded here. Next, if there's an additional payment due, that should be noted. And then also the participant list and gift card recipients will need to be included with your cash advance settlement form. Lastly, you'll need to sign this and date it. So the steps to complete the cash advance settlement is to ensure that the remaining funds are deposited with the bursar's office, and you need to use the deposit procedures in PeopleSoft and also the account code 10024. You need to be sure that you've included the deposit transmittal form, and you need to email all the items to cashadvance@mailbox.sc.edu. So for team travel advances, the steps for requesting team travel advance are the same as the regular cash advance. The only difference is going to be the account code, and that account code is 10205. The settle process is also the same. With grant cash advances, these steps are the same. It's the same as when you request a cash advance. The difference would be the account code, which is 10203. And then the settlement process is also the same as a cash advance. So now I'm going to turn the program over to Melinda to talk to you about the types of prepaid card programs.
All right, so I'm going to emphasize that we are trying to avoid using cash advances as much as we can going forward. So we have developed these 2 card programs to hopefully offset some of that need and to provide another option. And we are constantly looking at what we have and things that we can add or change to make it easier and better. So the 2 types of card programs that we offer right now are the participant card program, which includes an anonymous and a registered option, and then our business expense card program. And these items on this page apply to both of our program options. So the cardholder must have a U.S. address. And if the card is used internationally, it will incur a 3% fee on those transactions. All open orders need to be settled prior to any subsequent requests. And the cards are subject to suspension through Bank of America's fraud services. They have algorithms that they use to see if the activity looks suspicious. And so if that were to happen to any of the cardholders, they'll need to call the number on the card to speak to the bank and hopefully get the card reactivated or replaced. And the department is responsible for maintaining W-9s from any participants where they're going to receive more than $600 in a year, and that is so that we can send them a 1099 at the end of the year. So if you have any that do exceed that, you'll need to send that to the tax manager by January 15th of the following year so that we can send them a 1099 for that. Also, we do discourage using employees as participants because they will have to have this reported on their W-2. So if you do use an employee, you need to report that information to payroll so that they can include that. So we're going to start with the participant card program, and the overview of this is it's prepaid debit cards that are issued through Bank of America. We can load them with any amount that you need from $5 to $100, and the participants can register their cards online, and that way they can protect the funds in case they lose the card or it's stolen. But it's important to note they don't have to register it, but we do recommend it just so that their funds are secure. And we have a matrix that has all of our card programs, and this is just the participant card portion of it, blowing up so you can see it. So we've got the 2 pieces, the anonymous and the registered. And for the anonymous, This is for a one-time payment. They do not have to register the card with the bank. The funds do belong to the participant. We cannot unload the money from the cards. It takes about 3 to 5 days to have these card orders fulfilled and ready for pickup. There's no ATM withdrawal option. We cannot reload them, and the maximum amount is $100. And for the registered card program, this can be for a one-time or a recurring payment. So this one is reloadable. We also do have to have the cardholder information ahead of time. This one is actually ordered personalized to that cardholder, and it's embossed with their name. The funds as well belong to the participant and cannot be unloaded. It takes about 7 to 10 days for these card orders to be received since they are personalized from the bank, and they also have a maximum load of $100. Both of these programs go onto the prepaid account 19010 until they are settled, at which point they go to the expense account 54535. And for both of these, we have a participant card request form. If it's for research, an IRB letter is required, and settlement would be a card log sent back to us showing that the cards have been distributed to the participants. The benefits of our participant card program, like we said before, you don't need to have a cash advance anymore. There is no activation or card fees for this to the department. You don't have to set up a supplier in PeopleSoft anymore, and they can be loaded for any amount that you need, up to $100. And they're rather quickly. We can get them done in 3 to 5 days for the anonymous program and 7 to 10 for registered, so it's a pretty quick turnaround for both of those options. In order to request participant cards, you'll need to complete the research participant card request form and have that signed. Include that with the IRB approval and email both to cards@mailbox.sc.edu and allow that 3 to 5 days for processing. Once we have the cards ready, we will email you to let you know they're ready for pickup. We want to make a note here that it's important that you order conservatively, as we cannot take the cards back once they've been loaded and given to the department. So just make sure that you're only ordering what you know you'll be able to use. We can always expedite additional cards if you need more, but it's just very important to note that we can't take them back. If you have a large order when you come to pick them up, you probably want to bring a bag or a box with you if possible to transport them. This is an example of the participant card request form. So at the top you have the administrator of the program, the department name, the name of your study, your IRB date, and then when you would like to pick the cards up. We have a box in here for intended use where you can explain the need and how you're going to use the cards. And then we have the chart field information in here, and you can see that 19010 is the only option for the account code on these. And then you can put how many you need and at what value, and that actually totals for you once you enter in that information. And the bottom is for it to be signed by the person requesting, the PI, and the department approvers. And once you have that completed, you send that with the IRB to cards@mailbox.sc.edu for processing. So for tracking the card inventory, you're responsible for keeping track of which cards have been issued and to whom for clearing of the order, and they must be stored in a secure location. You know, they are loaded with funds, and we don't have a lot of recourse with the bank on that, so it's very important to keep those in a secure location since they are loaded. And you will receive a list of the cards that's identified by a proxy ID, which will aid you in identifying which card is which and when you're settling them. And another note here about how we cannot receive the cards back if you have leftover or order more than you need. And to settle the participant card request, they need to be settled within 90 days of the request. So make sure when you're ordering that you think about that and only order what you know you'll be able to use in that 90-day window. If you have them beyond 90 days, we at least need a partial settlement of what's been distributed at that point. And then you would need to continue to partially settle every 90 days. You'll submit the signed card log or payment receipts to cards@mailbox.sc.edu after you've distributed them, and that is how we'll process the settlement and move that to the expense account at that point. This is a sample card log that you receive with your order, And you can see that card proxy ID in that second column. That's a number that we use to identify the cards with the bank. So you don't have to open up the envelope that the card comes in. You can keep that card number secure. We and the bank can identify each card through this proxy ID. There's also a sequence number provided, which may be an easier number. It's a much shorter number for you when you're actually distributing them. But both of these are going to be on the outside of the card envelope, so you can identify them without opening them before you give them to the participants. And you can use this form to have them sign and date when they pick it up. If you don't want to use this card log, we also have an optional payment form that's on the website. It's like an individual receipt, one per page. So if you'd rather use that, you can do that as well. And then, once you've distributed all of them, you would just return this to us by email for settlement. And on this slide, we've got just a picture of the outside of the envelope so we can show you where those numbers are. So you can see the first set of numbers that you'll see in the window is going to be the sequence number. And then this 9-digit number, or 10-digit, I can't remember, is in the middle is going to be your proxy ID. So that's the number we use to identify that card with the bank. And then the last 4 numbers are going to be the expiration date of the card. And then these numbers below that, I don't know what that is. They're not tied to the card number at all. They are not the card number, so I'm not sure if that's something the bank uses. But those numbers in that top row are what we use to identify the cards with. So now we're going to move on to the business expense program, which is our newest card program. This one is also a prepaid debit card issued from Bank of America. And these cards can be loaded with values up to $10,000. They are registered to an employee only, and they are embossed and ordered personalized. These can be used for educational programs. You can use it to purchase participant electronic gift cards or athletic per diems. In this one, we can unload the cards. So if you order $1,000 and you only use $750, we can take that extra $250 back off of the card. You don't have to worry about doing a deposit with the bursar's office. They can be retained and reloaded for future orders also. It's important to note also the BE card can't be used for individual travel or anything that is subject to procurement. We also are not allowing the BE card to be used for any direct cash payments to participants through apps such as Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. We cannot use the BE card for that at this point. And if you needed more than $10,000, you can contact us for an exception. If it's a study abroad type thing, sometimes they need more. So just let us know if you needed more than that $10,000 limit. So this is the other portion of our card matrix, which shows the business expense card details. As I said before, educational programs like study abroad or summer programs, participant electronic gift cards like Amazon, or if you're using a service such as MTurk for research, and athletic per diems. These are for employees only. The funds belong to USC, and we also can unload these cards. They are personalized, so it takes about 7 to 10 days for us to get the cards in once the card is requested. It is reloadable, and like I said before, the maximum amount is $10,000 per program. This one goes to prepaid account 19011, and the expense account varies based on how you're using the card. And the required documentation would be the business expense card request form in order to request it, and then for settlement, we have a settlement form. And if there is food purchased on the card, we will need a food memo for anything that's charged to 53005, and you'll have to turn in all receipts for all purchases on the card. The benefits of our BE card program are, once again, trying to get away from cash advances. So this is basically like a cash advance, but the funds are on a card rather than a check. You don't have any activation or card fees to the department, and you don't have to have a PeopleSoft supplier set up. We can get the card within 7 to 10 days, and it is embossed with the employee's name on it. In order to request a BE card, we have the business expense card request form that would need to be completed and sent in along with the IRB approval if it's for research, and you'll email both of those to cards@mailbox.sc.edu and allow 7 to 10 days for processing. And we will email you to ask you, when you send in the form, you can let us know. We actually can have these mailed directly to the cardholder if needed, if you don't want to have to come to the controller's office to pick it up. But we do ask that on the form you put the office address, and then if there's a home address or a different address that you need the card mailed to, just let us know when you're ordering. Otherwise, we will have them sent here, and we will let you know when they're available for pickup here in the controller's office. This is our business expense card request form. So at the top here, you've got the cardholder's name, the department name, and the mailing address. So this is going to be your office mailing address, and the phone number that needs to be tied to the account. Most of the time it's your office number, but we understand right now with so many people working remotely that may need to be a cell phone number. And then you have a box for the requested amount and the date range that you're going to need these funds on this card. And then we have another checkbox where you can select whether it's a new card request or if you already have a BE card and you are reloading money on that. There's a box in the middle where you can explain your need and how you're going to use the card. Then you will enter in the chart fields. Once again, this is going to be only for account code 19011 while it's in the prepaid status until settlement, which is when it will then move to expense. At the bottom of the form, you've got a place for the cardholder and the department approver's signatures. And once those are all completed, you'll send that in to our email, which is cards@mailbox.sc.edu. To settle the BE card, you will complete and submit the BE settlement form. It needs to be settled within 30 days of the ending period that was on the request form. And you'll need to include all receipts and backup documentation for your purchases, which includes vendor receipts, a list of participants that are in your program, a list of gift card recipients, and you'll need to include the original request form just so we can tie it back to that when we're doing the settlement. And once again, a food memo if you have anything that is going to account code 53005. You'll send all of this information by email to us at cards@mailbox.sc.edu. And here is an example of our BE card settlement form. So at the top, you've got just the basic information of your original request. The chart fields on the top section are going to be what you put on your original request when you requested the card. And the bottom boxes are for your settlement information. So this can be summarized. It does not have to be one line per charge. It needs to be one line per different chart field. So different account code or project, etc. And make sure on this part you're not using 19011 because that is the prepaid. These should be your expense codes. And that will summarize, that will total for you at the bottom right there. And then on the part 2 section at the very bottom, that is for if there are any funds remaining on the card that you want unloaded. So you would put that there. And then the sum of the unload amount plus the total of your charges should equal your request amount at the top. And you'll have the cardholder sign and date this, and you'll email that with the backup to us at cards@mailbox.sc.edu. And we are going to, Kathleen is going to take you back to the website so we can show you where you can find our forms and procedures. So on the Office of the Controller website, there's a section on the left for cash and treasury management. And then you'll see card programs, and if you expand that, you will see our matrix, which we showed you kind of pieced apart, and then all of our programs have a form and procedures and settlement, and all that is there for you if you need it. We also will have a link to this webinar at the bottom. All right, and then our contact information, if you need to reach out to anybody for cash advances, you can reach out to cashadvance@mailbox.sc.edu. For the card programs, you can email us at cards@mailbox.sc.edu. And I think now we're going to open it up for any questions. If anyone has any questions, they can type it in the chat box and we'll answer it as best we can.
We do have somebody typing, Melinda.
Yeah.
This is Becky. While we're waiting for those to come in, I'd just like to thank Kathleen and Melinda for leading us through this webinar. I think you can tell how they are the experts in this area. So we are very appreciative. Kathleen actually works under Kathy Blackburn and Melinda works under me in Treasury. And I can tell you from the prepaid perspective, Melinda is the expert. So reach out to her at cards@mailbox.sc.edu if you have any questions. And so let's see, we do have one. Melinda, can you see that?
Yes.
I'll read it. Oh.
Yes. So Nicole is asking, if you get a BE card to purchase electronic gift cards, do you need proof that the participants have received the electronic gift card? And the answer kind of varies. It really depends on what you're ordering. We have some, so if they are ordered from Amazon, for example, it does allow you on the receipt to see that it's been received. And so we would prefer that, but that is not a requirement for settlement. We mainly just need a list of the participants that the cards were sent to.
Yeah, and you don't have to put their name if it's protected. You can just put a participant ID on there. And keep that information in your office. And also, you know, Melinda and I, we are heavily relying on AP to look for cash advance requests that come in through payment requests, and they're kind of looking at those to see if perhaps they might be eligible for our card programs. So that's another way we're trying to reach out to people if they don't know about our program, and we thank them for that effort as well. Looks like we got another question coming in. That's the elevator, if y'all are wondering. It's right out back behind your office, isn't it, Kathleen?
Yes. Yes.
It's not. It's not a train or a tornado or anything.
Yeah, and as they're typing the question, this is Kathy Blackburn. I do want to thank Kathleen and Melinda also for walking through the process. And Becky's right. The AP analyst will ask you if you can use a prepaid debit card instead of a cash advance. So please expect that. They are trying to do that.
Cash is just has a lot of risk with it. So we're doing our best in this day and age of getting away from it as much as possible.
Kathleen, do you or Kathy want to answer the question that just came in?
So the question is, when would a cash advance? When would we request a cash advance since we're trying to get away from them?
So cash advance are used for, you know, if you're buying gift cards, you want to use a cash advance. Usually that's the biggest thing that we see them for. We see a lot of athletics will ask for cash advances for various coaches, for various tournaments. So those are the main things we see those for.
But the bottom line is most everything can be transitioned over to one of the prepaid cards.
Yes. Yes, and we are encouraging, you know, as those come through, we are encouraging people to use a prepaid card.
Okay, do we have any more questions? All right, if we don't, we hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us today.